to just like put it out there. So when we're trying to strengthen the glutes, right, which are on the back side, I think we know that, but that partially like one of their jobs is to extend the hip, is to move the leg backwards in space, right? So, but sometimes it has trouble doing that because there's chronic tightness on the front, right? So just so you're kind of like in on the method to my madness, we're gonna start that. This is like your your pep talk, because we're going to massage the front of your quads and it's going to be deeply uncomfortable. And so I need you to have like buy-in that we're doing this for a future goal. All right. So that all being said, you also might want to have a yoga block or something to support your head, because you're just going to start by taking the front of your thighs on your foam roller. And this is where like maybe you want to put a yoga block or something under your head, right? You could also stack your fists, that would be okay. But the thing that doesn't actually get to relax when we're doing this is your arm strength. So this is an arm strengthening exercise and a shoulder girdle strengthening exercise as much as it's going to be a quad release, okay? So strongly press your hands down. You can have interlaced fingers, you can have spread fingers, you can have fists. But whatever you choose, like really commit to it. And then if you change your mind, that's cool. And you're going to push the back of your heart up towards the ceiling. And even lift the back of your throat so that your spine is very supported against the pull of gravity. And then to start for today, I'm just going to have you bend one leg slowly and then straighten it back out and then alternate. Yeah, and so you may be like, oh, this is too brutal. If it's too brutal, put padding on top of the foam roller. You also might try being on a different part of your thigh. So a couple of things I want you just to feel for here, look towards the camera just for a hot second, is when you bend your leg, does your heel cross towards the opposite butt cheek? Can you get your heel to go towards the same side butt cheek? Okay, go ahead and continue on. Okay, there are 3 parts to the hamstring. Can you imagine kind of 3 pulleys drawing up your shin and 3 pulleys lowering your shin? I will tell you that the outer pulley on the outer part of the thigh tends to do too much, and the inner thigh pulley tends to do too little. So really point the knees at the ground and maybe give a little bit more kind of internal rotation to the thighs, so that it primes that inner thigh to be a little bit more at the ready. One more on each side. If you have a block under your head, you can go ahead and move it off to the side, because now I want you to feel like both legs are trying to lift up. So both legs are now going to be straight, but don't let them just hang. Try to feel like you're still using those hamstring muscles to levitate your thigh bones off the foam roller. Yeah, good. Now you're going to move the whole body back. So you roll the foam roller towards your pubic bone or the top of the front side of the pelvis. And then you're going to go forward. You may need to crawl a little bit. And you move the foam roller not on the kneecaps, but to the low quad. And you're going to go back and forth on your own timing. And there needs to be a constant pressing down of hands and elbows, and a constant lift of the abdomen and thighs. So keep trying to lift your legs sort of up with them being straight. Got all of those hamstring muscles staying supportive. Yep. One more, all the way one direction, all the way to the other. And then you can stop on a particular place that feels tight but not grimacy. You're going to bend both legs, support your head again if needed. Chris, I moved the block up a notch, and then your head will be more on the level with your ribs. There you go. Now you're going to take both feet to the right, and then both feet to the left. So it's a little kind of slalomy swish. Good, and you may be like, ooh, I hate the place that I chose. in which case, move someplace slightly different. We're gonna do this on different parts of the thigh, just kind of increment by increment. Okay. You can go ahead and move, so now the foam roller's underneath a slightly different part of the thigh. And then again, move to another part of the thigh. Support your head. Keep the endurance of arms and abs. There we go, good. Again, move to a different part of the thigh. Or even the front side of the pelvis, unless that bugs you. Like I'm on the front of my pelvis, not on my pubic bone, but just even higher than my pubic bone, so it's like the very top. Yeah. Good, from here, straighten your legs out, turn them out, and have them be open. You're gonna crawl yourself forwards and back again, but keep the legs open, turned out, and actively trying to lift. Good, again, pause and some sort of particular part of the thigh of your choice, right? So kind of your tolerance to the discomfort. You're gonna bend one leg, and now I want your heel to cross over towards the opposite butt cheek. And then you switch to the other side. We call this Peter Pan. If you can kind of imagine Peter Pan flying through the air, one leg is bent and one leg is straight. Yeah. Good, don't collapse in the ribs or the abdomen, good job. Last set. Good. From here, you're gonna push yourself back off of the foam roller, move it off to the side, and then lie down on your belly, and you're gonna put your left inner thigh on the foam roller. Good. And then from there, you can prop yourself again up on your elbows. You could also put your head down like you're super sleepy and you're resting, okay? And so then from here, you're just gonna shift your hips right and left. Oh, for the most part, your body's facing the ground. Yeah, you're trying to have your hips point towards the floor. There you go, exactly. And we're massaging the inner thigh. Yep, you just shift the hips right and left. And again, you can play with where the foam roller is. Maybe you move it a little lower and you just take a couple of rounds massaging that area. Like I'm way towards the kind of the inside of my knee, the low thigh. And then you can kind of just incrementally move your way up or start on the other end and move your way down or play. Try some stuff. You could also pause wherever you are and just press straight down, like press your thigh into the foam roller, like you're trying to pin the foam roller to the floor. And then you can release that effort and repeat. Good, you can also pin the foam roller down, hold it down, and then straighten and bend your knee. Good, and so then same idea, but maybe move to a different part of the thigh. And I'm giving you 3 kind of options, but you also have permission to like play around, okay? But the ones I'm giving you are rock the hips right and left. So it's side to side. The second option I gave you was hold and press the thigh straight down and it kind of pinning the foam roller to the ground and then release. So that's more of an up down. So we had a right left option and an up down option. And then you could also pause and do the bending and straightening of the knee option. And then after you've done some kind of, playing in this area, move one more time to one more part of the thigh, different part. And again, same thing. You don't have to do the whole length of the thigh, but you could. That'd be all right. I'm doing way up high, where my inner thigh, my groin, the left side of my pelvis, like all of that like junction, right? And again, there's the right left option, there's the up down option, there's the straighten and bend the leg option. And there's also free form. One more time. And then from there, just move the roller off to the side. We will do the second leg in just a moment, but just lie down on your belly. You can put your head wherever feels most supportive. Take just a moment to feel the difference between the two legs, the felt sense, the shift. And then the leg that we were just working, lift that leg up and press both of your hip bones down. Maybe even let's do this. Put your hands under the front side of your pelvis and press your hip bones down into your hands. Good. Lift the leg that we were just massaging and just hold it lifted with the knee pointed at the ground. Good. Can you kind of feel like you're holding the leg from the inner thigh muscles that we were just massaging? Maybe lift the leg just a millimeter higher. Straight knee, super straight knee. There you go. Lift from that inner thigh. Breathe. Might get a little shaky, that's okay. From here, bend the knee, trying to keep the thigh off the ground if possible. Yes, good, both hip bones are down. From here, you're gonna reach your left hand back, try to grab a hold of your ankle or your pant leg. If you can't grab, lasso something over your foot, like a foam, like a magic circle or a TheraBand or a yoga strap. You're gonna prop yourself up on your right arm and draw your right heel towards your hip. We're still trying to lift the thigh up, but it's not going to be very high. You could also roll onto one side to do this. I'm having you do it with facing the floor, but if it feels better in your back to roll on your side, that's an awesome option. Good. Press your hips down, press your thighs down, and try to pull the heel, not just to the butt, but almost like you're pulling it more towards your head. Yes, yes, good. And then slowly let go and try to keep some consciousness around the inner thigh as you straighten the leg. So that's the pulley that helps support the knee going down. Good, we'll go to the second side. Grab a hold of your foam roller. Place it underneath your second leg. Find a supportive position for your head. Take a breath or so to just kind of get, go ahead and do some fidgets, right? Just kind of like, oh, I kind of want this here, or I kind of want that there. And then once you've kind of established your position, what feels sort of sustainable, then you have got the different options of the leg, or rather kind of inner thigh opening. We've got the hip side to side option. We've got the pin and release option. And we've got the bend and straighten the knee option. And play option. Continue to cultivate your breath. Maybe making it a little bit slower, kind of deliberately slowing it down. When you're ready, you can move to a different part of the thigh. When you're ready, you can go to a different part of the thigh. You can also stay longer. Feel like this area is really speaking to me and I kind of want to just spend a little bit more time here. That's always okay. Notice your jaw, the tongue in your mouth. Let that go slack. You don't need to hold your belly right now. You can also let your belly go slack. Notice also sort of the difference between the two legs. Good. When you feel ready, you can move the foam roller off to the side. Place your hands under the front of the pelvis and let your head rest. Yep. The kneecaps will face the ground. You're going to lift the leg that you were just massaging. You don't have to lift it to your maximum. Yeah, press your hips down. Keep your kneecaps pointed down. And just hold the lifting of the right leg. Yeah, Chris, I would put a bolster under your torso when you do this one. Maybe lift this leg a little higher. Again, we're working the endurance. Just the holding of the leg up in space is a lot of work for the back of the thigh and the back of the hip, right? Gravity is a force that we're always sort of playing with. So right now your hamstrings are doing a constant lift up to fight the constant pulling down of gravity. From here, you're going to bend the knee that's lifted. Try to keep the thigh lifted as well. And you can prop yourself up on your elbow and reach back and try to grab a hold of your ankle or your foot. Squeeze the inner thighs a little bit. Notice here if the foot's going towards the opposite butt, try to have it go to the same butt cheek. There you go. You can let that thigh press down, so both thigh bones are pressing down. And then just, again, yes, you're drawing the heel towards your bottom, but you really want to feel like it would go past your bottom. So feel like you're pulling it up the back of your spine. Yeah, good, Christina. Good. Again, draw the knees a little closer together. They don't have to touch. Good. Now keep the inner thigh awake, right? Responsive as you slowly set that foot down. Nicely done. From here, you can stack your hands, place your forehead on your hands. You're going to bend both knees and just rock both feet to the right, both feet to the left. Feeling a little twist of the lower back. Feeling how one leg turns out and one leg turns in. You're really trying to get your thigh bones to feel a little looser in the hip socket so that they can turn out and turn in. Both feet to the right, both feet to the left, like a windshield wiper. There it is. Good. All right, from here, center yourself. Draw the soles of your feet together, knees open. And you're just gonna, yep, so the knees stay open. If you liked putting your hands under your hips, that's totally fine. It's like, it's really good feedback, but you don't have to, right? It's just an option. Instead, what I want you to do is start to move at the ankles. So you're lowering the toe, you're kind of essentially flexing and pointing. No, not flexing and pointing. You're moving the toes towards the floor and then towards the ceiling. Trying to keep the soles of the feet together. Good. From here, point the toes up towards the ceiling. Again, really turn the thighs out so that the pinky toes try to press together. or the pinky sides of the feet. It might not even happen, but that's the idea. And so it's like a book binding, right? From the back side of the book, there's that gathering of the thigh bones around the sacrum. So the sacrum is kind of the binding, right? And the two legs are the two sides of the book that meet at the sacrum. Okay, and then that's kind of as far as the metaphor goes. From here, you're going to lift and lower your legs up. And the knees may or may not even clear the ground. But what I want you to focus on more than how far up you go is trying to kind of open the front of the book more. Stretch the inner thigh, stretch the groin, and try to bend that binding, right? Where the cover of the book is creasing in towards the sacrum. 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. Go ahead and let your legs come down. You can press yourself back into child's pose. Again, if you want to put some sort of support under your feet or under your forehead, you're fine. Have the knees separated at least the width of the head, but have the legs parallel if possible. So instead of feet together, knees open, try to have the feet and knees in a similar alignment. There you go. Good. So then from here, without really using your hands, I want you to push your shins down, your feet down, your shins down. Lift your backer muscles, so your pelvic floor, and feel how some of your butt muscles start to sort of plump up. You want to use those pelvic muscles to lift your hips up and forward without really using your hands. So you're going to come forward so the hips are over the knees. Yeah, and then you're going to lower yourself back down into child's pose. Let's say we take the hands to the lower back just to give them something to do. Push your shins down, engage some of those deep hip muscles, deep pelvic floor muscles, and just lift your hips up and forward. Good. And then hips can go back and down. If you want to add on that when you lift up, you could reach the arms down, lift your chest and throat towards the sky, and push your hip bones almost forward of your knees, and you should feel some glute muscles. And then you'll sit back and down, but it doesn't, just because the butt muscles are essentially spreading, right, or eccentrically contracting, doesn't mean that they're relaxing. So your hips are still supportive and active the whole way up, the whole way down. One more time. Good. From here, feel free to place the hands down. You're going to step the right foot forward. Come into a lunge. If you would like to place yoga blocks under your hands, I recommend it. I also love taking the foam roller behind my front heel because that gives my hands some support as well. But do find some sort of support because we want the hands to be touching something. Yeah, good. Good. Exactly. So the hands are going to stay where they are. You're going to engage some of those same pelvic muscles. So push that back shin down, your front foot down, and use that as leverage to help you engage your pelvic floor and hip strength. Then shift the hips up and back, and then forward and down. The hands are going to stay in the same position. And the feet and the shins have a constant push down to give the pelvic floor something to kind of have like a reaction force to, right? A lift up and away. Good. As you're moving, keep the pelvis as square as possible. So when I'm going forward, I actually think of my back leg. I think of that hip as leading. That hip leads me forward. Yes. Good. Last one. The next time you go forward, stay, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, and try to straighten that back knee to the best of your ability. Yeah, actually, everybody, lift your hips up an inch or two. A little higher, Chris. And then take your back foot and hop it forward, everybody, like an inch, just an inch. There you go. Okay, now straighten that back leg as much as you can. That's it. Kneecap points at the ground. Yeah, you might even reach back and touch. That back inner thigh, really spin it towards the ceiling and keep it active. Now you're going to bend the front knee a little deeper. Notice what happened to the hips. It's really common for the inner thigh to collapse down towards the floor. Try to keep that back inner thigh lifted towards the ceiling. There you go. So you can straighten the front leg and bend the front leg. But you're just keeping some awareness of that back leg, inner thigh. Yes, good job. Good. And then could you do this maybe even without your hands or just lessen your hands and really feel again that lifting of the pelvic floor, just like we did from child's pose to that kneeling position. Just lighter in your hands and a little bit more lift from underneath, like someone was pushing you up. Back leg as straight as it can be. 2 more. Good. Lower down into a full lunge. And then from here, try to bend and straighten the back leg. Good. Lift the back of your throat. Lift your belly button. Good. If you need to pad up your knee, please do. You can roll up your mat or add a little towel. One more time. And then from there, you're going to switch legs. Yep. Support your hands on something. The back knee is pointed down at the ground. But we really my weight is on my thigh more than my kneecap. If I'm on my kneecap, I'm definitely going to want to add padding. The further my knee goes back, the more I'm actually on my thigh and not my kneecap. And then I might not need the padding as much. There we go. Okay. So from here, we're going to lift the hips up and back, forward and down. And the objective here is you've got your 2 hands. You can use them right now. But I want you to feel that reaction force between your limbs pushing down and the pelvic floor and deep hip strength, lifting the pelvis up and back, lowering it with control forward and down. Good. The next time you bend the front leg, stay. Tuck the back toes. Lift the back knee. Probably hop the back foot forward a little and come up a little higher, like lift your torso off your thigh a little bit. That's it. Straighten that back leg as much as you're capable of. There you go. And then same idea. Lift your pelvic floor and your deep hip strength. Just straighten the front leg and then re-bend. Yeah. Can you keep that back inner thigh rolling towards the ceiling with an active lift? And again, sometimes it's helpful just to put your hand there and be like, that's what I'm pushing up into. Yeah, good. 2 more. Yes, good. Lower the back knee and stay. Good. Oops, I forgot to have you try that without hands. Psych, come back up. All right, yeah, lift back up. There you go. Lighten your hands. Maybe even put them on your front thigh, but that's totally your prerogative to make that executive choice. Straighten them in the front leg, but with really trying to be light on the hands. Good, could that back inner thigh, that constant lift, help you control the lowering and initiate the lifting? Yes, good job. Good. Can you steer whatever is your back leg? That hip needs to steer forward. That's it. There you go, because it's opposing the inner thigh. Last two. That's it. Good. Now go ahead and take your time. Lower yourself down. Lower the back knee down. Right again. And then you're going to bend and straighten the back leg. Notice the position of your pelvis. Try to, again, whatever it's the back leg, steer that hip forward. Good. Maybe squeeze your inner thighs a little bit. And try to track that back heel in line with the same side butt cheek. Don't let it cross over. One more time. Lenti. Good job. Go ahead and from here, you step back. You're going to swing your legs around. Grab a hold of your foam roller. It's going to be placed underneath the back side of your head. Hallelujah. Chin lifted, feet on the floor, feet separated about the width of your shoulders. And you're just going to rock the knees from side to side. Try to let your, it's almost as if the foam roller is making the back of your neck be in its natural curve, right? So you're kind of supporting the neck, and the bulk of your skull is off the back side of the foam roller. And then from there, you can take both legs all the way to the right. You might feel a front of the thigh stretch on whatever is your top leg. In my case, it's my left leg. If that feels like it's enough of a stretch, by all means, just go ahead and stay. If you feel like, oh, I kind of think I might be ready for a little bit more of a stretch, then you can take the foot a little closer to your hip. Now, if you've got knee, essentially like issues in terms of like you don't want it to feel compressed, then you want to put support underneath the knee, right? If you have trouble bending the leg, I wouldn't, right? I just would take that, like a little straighter and not draw your heel towards your butt. Okay, so either support under the knee or a straighter knee. But then once you kind of made your executive decision, you can again choose to stay here, or you could lift whatever is your second leg, so the knee points at the ceiling. So we got a quadricep on one side, and then the other foot is flat. Otherwise, before that knee was off to the side. There you go, good. Okay, so now keep the knee pointed at the ceiling, and then rotate your pelvis. You could put your hands on the front of your pelvis, and think of having like little suspenders that you're trying to shorten those suspenders up towards your front ribs. Your knee might lift up a little bit. That's okay. Good. Keep those suspenders sort of short, and then let the thigh bone have a sense of sort of just not trying to lift, but actually let the thigh bone kind of feel like it goes with gravity, because now your abdominals are supporting it. Breathe. Maybe rock your head from side to side. The eyes could be closed. When you're ready, you'll slowly make your way out of this. You just kind of reverse the actions. Both legs again go to one side. You release the leg that had the quadricep stretch, maybe straighten it all the way out. Yeah, maybe just turn it out and in a little bit. Maybe shake the foot or the knee a little bit. Yeah, and then you can place both feet flat on the ground. Both knees are going to sway from side to side. maybe like 3 sets. Let your belly get a little twist, a little churn. And then both knees are going to go to your second side. Okay. Yep. And then if that feels enough, stay. If it feels like too much, then again, you want to straighten the knee more and or put padding underneath the knee. Any sort of strain in the knee, you want to make sure you give it some support from underneath so it doesn't have to fight gravity. There you go. If you feel like you could start to work a deeper stretch, that's when you draw the heel towards your bottom. If possible, you're on the top of your foot. And that can be its own brutal exercise, just being on the top of the foot. Okay, so now whatever is the knee that's flopped off to the side, you're going to lift it up and down just a couple of times, up and down. Good. And then lift the knee up. Good. And stay. And take a few rounds of breath, tilting the pelvis actively, shortening those front of the hips towards the front of the ribs. And once you feel like, okay, I've got some abdominal support, my neck is somewhat relaxed here, right? Like I've got work in my belly, but not in my jaw. Then you can see if you could just kind of let the thigh bone go with gravity. Not so much it pulls you out of your pelvic tilt. We're separating the action of the pelvis from the action of the thigh bone. Again, feel free to take some neck movement, up and down, side to side. Also, it could be a little abstract, like you're scratching an itch. Good. And then you can reverse those actions. So I let my bent, the leg where the knees pointed up, I let that fall out to the side to give me a little bit more space to take the leg that just got that quad stretch. Okay. From there, you can straighten the leg that just got the quad stretch, maybe shake it out a little bit, maybe you flop your foot or bend and straighten your knee, turn it in, turn it out. There you go. Great. Cool. From here, you're going to take your foam roller out, place it off to the side. Grab your yoga block, place it on the medium setting, which is this, under your sacrum. And if that feels insane, then turn it down a notch. And then you might even, so you're just going to take your feet together, so feet and knees together. If this bugs your knees, then separate your feet and knees about the width of your head or wherever it helps you get out of your pain. But otherwise, if you can take feet and knees together, please do. You're just going to be here for a second. Feet down, knees together. Squeeze the uppermost inner thighs. And also narrow the front of the pelvis. Those front two hip bones, think of them as magnetically contracting in towards the midline. If you would like to up the challenge, take your block, move it to the next high setting. But same idea, feet together, knees together. Press the 2 feet down. Squeeze the 2 legs together. Release tension in the upper body. So there's effort in the lower body, but not so much in the upper. Keep squeezing the legs together. They might start to shake, that's okay. One more full cycle of breath. And then just simply separate the feet about the width of your ears, maybe slightly wider. Toes point forward. Lift your bottom and kind of push that block out from underneath you. Good. And then from here, just take a moment to come up to seated with your yoga block. You're going to take it on the low setting between the feet, like this. If you want to grab a second block and put it between your inner thighs, by all means, okay? Otherwise, lay yourself right back down. Press your arms down. Nose points towards the ceiling. Good. And then if you curl your head and shoulders up, try to feel like you could just almost touch your heels. It's not super far away. And then set your head back down. There you go. Cool. Okay, so press the head and the hands into the mat. Feel the 2 feet against the yoga block, so the big side of the big toe is touching. And then press your feet down as you pop your hips up. Good. Imagine that sacrum underneath you, or imagine that yoga block you had under your hips just a moment ago. Imagine that yoga block under your hips could push your hips up higher. And so now you're pushing your glutes into the front of your hip. Squeeze an imaginary block or a real block so that the knees are tracking forward, not sideways. Good. Lower the hips down, rolling through the spine, articulating through the spine. Release the pelvis into its neutral position, whereby the pubic bone and the front hip bones are level. And then you're going to repeat. Hinge the hips straight up. Squeeze your props. Reach your knees forward. Open the front of the hips and plump up your glutes. Then keep your glutes that active as you practice relaxing your spine, letting your spine bend inside your deep torso, but your glutes are still helping to control the rate at which you descend. The back of the hips push you up in one count. Boom, you're up there. You're going to hold for a couple of breaths, or maybe one just deep, slow cycle of breath, right? It depends on your breath mechanism. And then you're going to roll down the spine, but you keep that activation in the hips as you relax the lower body, or excuse me, the upper body and the spine, letting it unfold. Again, so here's the choreography. You lift up in one count. You're going to hold for at least 3 counts. And then you're going to roll the spine down for at least 3 counts. Breathe as needed. The choreography, again, is 3 parts. Part 1 is lift, and it's quick. Part 2 is hold. And then part 3 is that practicing of keeping the hip strength as you slowly articulate the spine down. You got a few more rounds. Last time. Good. The next time the hips are down, you can take the block that's between the thighs, move it off to the side if you were using one. You're going to come up to seated again. Same setting on the yoga block, but now you're going to place your feet on it. So it's like I'm kind of like a little bird on a perch. Like my heels and my toes are trying to grab the yoga block. Yeah, exactly. Good. Lay yourself back down. Arms pressed down. And just right out the gate, I want you to feel your heels and your toes trying to grab the block and trying to pick it up instead of pushing it down. And feel how right away you'll start to get a little bit of work in the back of the hips. Press the head and hands down, and then lift and lower your hips straight up and straight down. We're no longer dripping the spine down. This is more of a hip hinge. Yeah. Keep your feet trying to lift the yoga block. They're not going to, of course, but it's that idea of just that you're still trying to pick it up. Good. Reach your knees forward. Almost like you're poking like little buttons in front of you. Squeeze your glutes and really lift the sacrum. Last 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Hug both legs into your chest. Give them a big hug. If your knees are bugging you, hold on to the back side of the thighs. Maybe rock the knees a little side to side. And then from there, bend your knees so you're in a deep squat with the heels together. The knees open about the width of your ears. Put your hands behind your head, stack your hands. And then pop the elbows up so they're within your peripheral vision. And feel the shoulder blades get a little wider. So in this position here, the heels are touching, but the big toes are not. And I want you to squeeze the 2 heels and squeeze and wrap your butt muscles as strongly as you can. Good, you're gonna straighten your legs up towards the ceiling. Turn the legs out more, really straighten your knees. And then bend your legs as a hamstring curl, drawing the heels down towards your butt with resistance. Good, straighten your legs up towards the ceiling for today. Turn them out more, squeeze your heels more. There you go. And then when you bend your knees, it's like your heels are pushing like some sort of lever downward. And you use the back of your thighs and hamstrings to do so. Good. Straighten. Turn out more, squeeze. Good. And then the heels have a sense of almost the heels go forward and down. Good. Last time. Good, now draw the heels all the way to your butt, as close to your butt as you can get them. There you go, now draw your knees towards your chest, as close as you can get them. Good, can you still keep your butt muscles squeezing? Curl up the head and shoulders, and begin to do your footwork. Straightening the legs forward, bending in. We're gonna start to move a little faster here, but I want you to keep some sort of awakeness on the back of your hips. And if you wanna grab your own bottom and kind of keep some effort in that area, go for it. 3, 2, 1. From here, extend your legs up towards the ceiling. Set your head down. Put your hands under your sacrum. We're going to keep the legs turned out. Squeeze them together to start. There you go. Good. If you would prefer to have a yoga block under your hips or a bolster, that's okay. But now you're going to, so the legs are turned out. You're going to lower one leg down towards the ground. And as it lowers, plump up the back of that hip. Squeeze your butt. There we go. Then stretch that lower leg as it rises up. Second side. Lower. As the leg goes down, let the back of the hip, your glutes engage. Stretch that leg longer as it's rising up. Forward and down. Forward, then up. Last round. Nicely done. Once you're even, bend your knees into your chest. Take the soles of the feet together so they're in that little prayer foot position. Actually, place your feet down on your yoga block for a second. Yep. So soles of the feet together. That's it. Squeeze the 2 feet together. And then go ahead and rotate your pelvis. Find those kind of short suspenders. That's it. Good. Now keep the abdominal contraction. Press your feet together. And you're going to, it's a hinge at the hips. The knees are going to come in. The feet are going to rise up. Good. So as you lower, can you get more pelvic tilt? As you lower, that's actually the harder part, is the lowering. Good. One more time. Nicely done. Okay, hug your legs into your chest again. Maybe rock a little side to side. Cool. From here, straighten your legs on top of your yoga block. Move the yoga block a little forward so it's more like the heel is touching. The legs are going to be turned out. The legs are going to be open about the width of the yoga block. And I just want you to press your arms down. Good, and just lift your hips up and down. So for me, I have quite a bit of glute tissue, so I barely make it off the mat. Okay, so if you're like, I don't know if I really made it, that's okay. The goal is not how high necessarily, it's just this sense of really trying to open the front of the hips. Good, push the heels down now. Good, one more. Okay, so now the hips are gonna stay down, but I want them to stay sort of lightweight. So you're not rooting the pelvis, you're almost trying to uproot the pelvis. There you go, really open the front of your thighs and almost feel like your legs are trying to push the block forward. That's it, good. Keep that sort of leg effort, stretch your arms to the ceiling. Take a big breath in, and then exhale, curl up the head and shoulders and start to pump the arms here. Press your heels down as if you could lift your butt. Good, and then push that yoga block forward. Breathe deeply. If you want to put your head down, please do. Make the last 3 breaths really about exhaling to completion. And at the end of your next exhale, go ahead and set your head down. Take your legs on the side of the block. So kind of the inner ankles are squeezing the block, and you're going to flex your feet. Okay, continue to stretch the heels and calves forward, pushing through the heels. That's it, good. The arms are going to reach backwards, and now we begin the roll up. The arms come forward first, squeeze that block, and round your head forward over the block. And then lay yourself down, arms will go back. Good. So strange but true. Try to keep pressing the legs down and forward and keep a little bit of your butt plumped. Sorry if that word's like hard for you. Nice, last one. Good, very nice. Go ahead and tilt your, so lay down, tilt your pelvis, bend your knees in, taking the yoga block with you. You're gonna put the yoga block under your hips on the low setting, legs up towards the ceiling. Lower both legs a little bit in front of the yoga block. But still try to find some of the pelvic tilt and that shortening of your suspenders. There you go. From here, you're gonna curl the pelvis, lift the hips, and go upside down, reaching the feet for the wall behind you. You're gonna open the legs about the width, a little wider than your shoulders, about the width of the corners of your mat. And then roll your spine back onto the yoga, or your hips onto the yoga block. Lower the legs, squeeze them together, up and overhead you go. Open the legs, and then roll through the spine. Circle the legs together 3 times. And then you essentially just reverse the leg choreography, the legs open before you go upside down, and then they close as you're rolling down. One more. So 3 in each direction. Good. And then go ahead and from here, place the left foot down on the ground. Good. Keep the right leg up. And I want you to lower the straight leg down towards the ground. And as it lowers down, focus on the shortening of the front side of the pelvis and a little bit plump up your glutes. And then return that leg up towards the sky. Again, it's almost as if when the foot goes down, you try to lift the hips up off of the block. And then you return that leg to the ceiling. Again, foot down and kind of butt up. Good. Switch legs. Good. Switch legs again. Good. Have your legs are parallel. My right leg is up towards the ceiling. So you're going to put your opposite hand to your inner thigh. Yeah, so left hand to right inner thigh. There you go. And then have them be, right, formidable opponents. So one's not bossing the other one around. They're magnetically attracted to each other. And they're so happy that they're connected right now. Now release your hand and use that strength to cross the leg across your body. And then return it to center. And again, cross, initiating from the inner thigh. Yeah, one more. Good. From here, use the inner thigh to cross. Then as you start to lower the leg, try to feel like you could pick your butt up. There you go. Open the leg out to the side, return it to the ceiling. Again, inner thigh squeeze, lift the hips up slightly as the leg circles around. So just a different challenge here. After you've done about 5, you'll reverse, open, stretch that inner thigh, then squeeze it as it comes around. Again, after you've done about 5 in each direction, you can switch. Start by taking the left leg up to the ceiling or whatever's your second leg. And then you've got hand to opposite inner thigh. We're just taking a moment here to, again, really feel this formidable opponent between inner thigh and hand. Good, we're trying to make that left inner thigh kind of, whatever's the lifted leg, trying to get that sort of to fatigue. Good, release your hand and then use that to cross the midline and then release the effort. So again, it's almost like a spring, like as you cross the leg over, it's like you're compressing a spring and then the spring releases your leg back to neutral. Couple more rounds and then you can begin your one leg circle. Oh, I forgot, as the leg goes down, try to feel like you're lifting your butt up. Do that just a couple of times. Can you even still here keep some awareness on that inner thigh? Yeah. Okay, now go ahead and begin your one leg circle. We got the cross, we got the lower, we got the circle up. Five in each direction for today. Last one. Good. Bend both knees into your chest. Push the yoga block out from underneath you. Good. Then from there, actually take the yoga block between your heels, the back of your heels, and the back of your thighs, like way up towards your butt. And then you're just gonna try this, so it's a little hamstring contraction, right? You're trying to compress the block. You could put your hands under your butt, or you could put a bolster under your hips if you wanted to. But right here, you're just gonna try to squeeze the block. And if you just feel like this bugs my knees, like it really is hard for me to bend this much, then move the yoga block to a higher setting, so then the legs are less bent. And if you still hate it, get rid of the yoga block, okay? But otherwise, right now, start to practice lifting and lowering your hips. Squeeze that yoga block like it's like, nobody gets to have it. There we go. Good. Plenty. Curl up your head and shoulders because it gets worse. And now you begin your rolling like a ball. Keep that heel to hip contraction. 4, 3, very good. Move the yoga block behind you. Here you might want 2 yoga blocks, or a bolster or like a stool. You're gonna sit on your yoga blocks. Feet parallel. Press your feet down. Yeah, this is your last hurrah. And then from there, you're gonna, in case anybody was curious. All right, you're gonna lean forward. And then try to find that pelvic floor lift. It's almost like the yoga blocks are like icy cold. And you're like, oh, lift up. Good. And then you lean forward and you try to lift. Maybe you come all the way to standing. Maybe you push the hips forward, interlace the fingers, and then do a little bit of an upper back bend. And then you come back to seated. When you bend the knees, keep your hip strength to help you control the descent of your pelvis. Now, when we sit, we're not actually relaxed, right? Because that would mean that like the blocks were cozy. The blocks are not cozy. So we're lifting up off of them. Come all the way up or as high as you can. Christina, separate your feet a little bit more. There you go, good. Again, maybe you take a little back bend at the end, squeeze the shoulder blades, lift the heart. And then you bend again. The knees go way forward, 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 forward. Yes. Yes, Leslie, gorgeous. Again. And from there, you can get rid of your yoga blocks if you so choose, and just come to a comfortable seated position. Just for last breath or two. Just feel here this sense of the back of your hips supporting that pelvic bowl. And then the rib cage gets to grow out of that support. And the head gets to be kind of perched on that support from underneath. So even here, if you do a little bit, just plump up the glutes and engage the pelvic floor, just as a support resisting gravity. Take one full cycle of breath, releasing tension around the eyes, the throat, the shoulder blades. And then when you feel ready, crack your eyes open.